My name is Professor Ed Keim, and today I'm going to talk about academic integrity and plagiarism. Universities require that students' work be entirely original and written in their own words. So as a student, you have to paraphrase any idea you present that isn't your own. Remember what the purpose of any academic activity is. It's to demonstrate your understanding of the concepts through the achievement of learning objectives. Universities require that you utilize your own words in demonstrating an understanding of the concepts. Now, this allows your instructor to evaluate how well you do or don't understand the material. And if you use someone else's words, your instructor doesn't know that you understand the material. The University of Illinois at Chicago provides this definition of plagiarism. Submitting someone's work as your own, that one's obvious. Rewriting someone's work without properly citing sources. Taking passages from your own previous work without citation. That's called self-plagiarism. Yes, you have to cite yourself. Using quotations but not citing the source. Providing proper citations but failing to change the structure and wording of the borrowed ideas enough. In other words, you're not paraphrasing. Relying too heavily on other people's work and failing to bring original thought into the text. So look at those last two. You're relying too heavily on other people's work and you're failing to bring original thought into the text. And citing, of course, refers to providing credit to the author. So here's an infographic with those definitions. Again, submitting someone else's work word for word, rewriting someone else's work without citing it, failing to cite quotations, mixing sources without citing any of them, borrowing work from your own previous work without citing yourself, self-plagiarism, combining cited and uncited passages, citing sources but relying too heavily on the text's original wording and or structure, combining uncited work from multiple sources, citations are inaccurate or non-existent, and in the bottom right-hand corner, you cite your sources but you don't offer anything original. That is one of the definitions of plagiarism. You provide citations but you don't provide any original thought. Copying and pasting. This is the use of someone else's words verbatim or nearly verbatim. And copying and pasting is regardless of how you transmit that text to your own paper. You can highlight it, use Control-C, Control-V, or simply retype it. This is never appropriate in any academic setting, and simply changing a few words in a sentence or the paragraph is not sufficient in meeting the standard of in your own words. Can I simply use quotation marks and provide a citation? I've heard this many times over my career. Providing a citation means you are crediting the author. However, the purpose of any academic activity is to demonstrate your understanding of the material. So if you copy and paste, even if you provide a citation, you haven't achieved this objective. You have not demonstrated your understanding of the material, and that defeats the purpose of that academic activity. So for example, if you're asked to define economies of scale, this is a very simple microeconomic term I teach in a 100 series class, and you copy the definition from a website and provide a citation. You haven't demonstrated you understand the term. You've demonstrated that the author of the website understands the term, but not you. Therefore, your instructor can't award any points for having defined economies of scale. So here's an example. You're required to provide a definition, and this is what you provide. Quote, economies of scale is a cost advantage that arises with increased output of a product and so on. Okay, so you provide it, it's in quotation marks, and you provide a citation. This is not considered defining the term. You're not completing the objective of this academic requirement. In a business course, you very rarely need to quote a source. And in the PhD programs, generally you can only quote a single sentence for every 10 pages of research. You should only quote if the meaning may be lost if the work is paraphrased. So you should quote passages that may have historic significance. For example, Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. You can't paraphrase that, it loses its meaning. So you would quote and cite Dr. King. Again, paraphrasing refers to using the idea but rewriting it in your own words. Again, you have to use your own words. And this doesn't mean simply changing a few words here and there. Remember, um, from our first slide, relying too heavily on the text's original wording and structure and failing to bring original thought into the text. Two of the definitions of plagiarism. So here's an example of unacceptable paraphrasing. There's no original thought or work displayed, and the student will get in trouble for plagiarism. So Investopedia, quote, economies of scale is the cost advantage that arises with increased output of product, and so on. And the student provides economies of scale refers to the cost advantage that comes about with an increase in output of product. So they changed a few words here and there in the paragraph. There is no original thought, and you're relying too heavily on the original wording and structure. This is plagiarism. Universities utilize various tools to identify plagiarism, as do high schools now. A submitted assignment is run through a database, and these databases include all previously submitted work and also anything on the internet, which includes textbooks. And these tools will generate a score. This score represents the amount of material that was found to be similar to information in the database. For example, a 25% score means that 25% of that work has been found in that database. So Safe Assign by Blackboard is one tool, Turnitin.com is another. So here we see a Safe Assign report. You can see the score on the right-hand side. It says 100%. And you can see the highlighted text. 100% of the information was copied from the internet. The plagiarized information is highlighted and the website is identified. The student received an F on this assignment and a letter of warning in his or her student file. A subsequent violation may result in an F for the entire course. So if you do it again, you may fail the entire course. And you do it a third or fourth time, you may be dismissed from the university. In this assignment, we see a 73% score. So 73% of the information was plagiarized, and passages were taken from various websites. Note that below one of those passages is an 81% match. It's not 100%. But the student didn't paraphrase the passage enough to meet the requirement of in your own words. So again, the rule of thumb is that 75% of your work needs to be original. So the score, the safe assigned score, the turned it in score should be 25% or lower. Safe assign will highlight similarities in copied information, and your instructor will evaluate those similarities. So this report shows a 35% score with a large chunk of highlighted material. This was submitted for investigation for plagiarism, and the student was found to have plagiarized and got an F on the assignment and a letter in his or her file. Now, you like as I said, 25% is the threshold, but I have seen scores as low as 20% fail for plagiarism because 20% of the assignment or a fifth of the assignment was copied and pasted from the internet. So that 25% score is a guideline. So some of the consequences of plagiarism. The Army War College revokes Senator John Walsh's master's degree. This happened back in 2014. Senator John Walsh earned his master's degree from the Army War College. Later, it was found that he plagiarized a research paper that was needed to graduate. It was found that the plagiarism was egregious and little, if any, original language or research was found in it. So not only did he fail the course, he also got his master's degree revoked. And universities usually have policies in place for this. For example, Howard University. These procedures apply only to cases in which a university degree has been awarded, but the record shows later that, one, the graduate's academic record following a correction indicates the graduate fails to meet academic requirements for graduation. And two, facts which, if known at the time of awarding the degree, would have resulted in a decision not to award the degree without any further proceedings. So this is very broad language, which includes plagiarism, but also uh, other factors. You look at the University of Nevada at Reno, they reserve the right to withdraw academic degrees in cases of material academic misconduct that impact the reputation of the institution, including misrepresentation of academic credentials or material falsification in an application. So if you lie on your application, you get your master's degree, and they find later that you lied on your application, they can withdraw your master's degree. I have a colleague that worked at another university, and they revoked the bachelor's degrees of several graduates when it was discovered that these graduates were selling their papers, their previously graded papers, to current students. And their names popped up in the Turnitin tool. And so they had their bachelor's degrees revoked. So these graduates didn't commit plagiarism, but they did cheat. They allowed other students to use their papers. So some of the consequences of plagiarism, other than getting an F and failing the course or even being expelled or having your degree revoked, those are some of the consequences. More importantly, you do not meet educational goals. When you copy and paste or you plagiarize, you don't achieve the learning objectives. You don't meet educational goals. You learn inaccurate information. For example, I teach microeconomics, and there's a website out there that actually misdefines unitary price elasticity. And a lot of my students use this, and it's wrong. So had they done their research and done their reading, they would have realized that this is wrong. Students face legal and academic repercussions. Students are not prepared for jobs. Consider the fact that many jobs today require an associate's or bachelor's degree as a minimum requirement. The reason for that is because human resources knows that when you come in with a bachelor's degree in business management or business administration, you have a certain depth of knowledge, and they're counting on that. Now, if you didn't learn that, you come in without it. So you're not prepared to do the job where the minimum requirement was having achieved the objective, the learning objectives needed to earn that bachelor's degree. My sixth grade teacher said this: you only cheat yourself. When you plagiarize, you're not learning the material that validates your degree. So imagine your boss knows you have a business degree and they ask you to explain price elasticity of demand. This is a very basic microeconomic concept I teach in a 100 series class. And this actually happened to me while I was earning my MBA. Of course, I knew what price elasticity of demand meant. So he asked me, Ed, what does price elasticity of demand mean? So I started saying, well, and I explained the relation between price and demand and the percentage change in demand based on a percentage change in price and how this relates to a product being relatively elastic or relatively inelastic. Now, imagine you copied and pasted this from investopedia.com and to complete that assignment and you didn't get caught. Now, imagine not being able to explain price elasticity of demand to your boss. You've destroyed your credibility as a university graduate, and you've invalidated that very expensive degree. There is no accidental copying and pasting. Copying and pasting is a conscious decision and a violation of academic integrity in any university on the planet. Accidental plagiarism due to omission or misuse of citations is possible. I forgot a citation, okay? That might happen. So my challenge to you is to earn your degree the right way. Learn the material. It's the harder path. It's the ethical path. But it's going to make you that much more knowledgeable, that much more marketable and valuable in the workforce. And you can say you earned your degree with integrity. Again, it's your responsibility to ensure that your work is your work. You're in school to get an education. Of course, you want that piece of paper. That's going to get your foot in the door. That education is what allows you to keep your job and makes you valuable to your company. You don't achieve any of that if you plagiarize. So your degree is going to come with expectations. Your employer expects you to understand the concepts that validate your degree. Okay, so if you have a degree in business, you need to understand the material that validates that degree. So thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.